Hello, folks. It's me, James, and I'm going to talk about a comic or graphic novel that I really like. I guess it's a series. It's called Extremity by Daniel Warren Johnson. You got number one, and you got number two to make the whole book. It's printed in two parts. All right, here's the first book. It's called Artist, and I actually finished this like a couple months ago. So the story is not so fresh in my head, except I finished volume 2 a couple weeks ago, so I'll see what I forgot. Okay, so we got Daniel Warren Johnson, creator, writer, and the artist. And he's got a colorist, Mike Spicer, and a letterer, Russ Wooten. Okay. I actually don't know how things work these days. Like, how do you still have a letterer? Because, back in the day, they had somebody write it out. I wonder if they still write it out because the letters do look good. It looks better than a font that you just download off the internet. I'd be curious how this Russ Wooten is doing his thing. Okay, so what we have here is a story that I would say is post-apocalyptic. I guess it's a little bit like Nausicaa, if the land itself could fly. As in, it's in the future, obviously, but then people have gotten tribal. I guess that's like Mad Max, isn't it? But this is not in the desert, so that's a little different. Okay, so let's see here. We have a character whose whole thing is that she's an artist. But you see here, she got her hand chopped off. And so she can't do art anymore. And I wonder why he was thinking that. He said in another graphic novel he did, Murder Falcon, that he was going through a rough patch when he made Extremity. And I wonder where his head was at. Like, if he was thinking, like, what would happen to me if I lost my right hand and I couldn't draw comics, I couldn't provide for my family. I wonder if he was thinking that. Because he puts a lot of pain in the main character, this girl. Where she's like the tribal artist who draws all the things and has her role in her society and all that, and gets her arms ripped off, her arm. But I guess that's like really asking the question of like, am I still worth anything if I'm an artist and I don't have my hands? Was he thinking that? That's kind of dark. This whole thing's very dark and gritty. And this is a bird eating cheese out of somebody's eye socket for fun. He just likes to put it there. Yeah, you get the flying islands. Who doesn't love flying islands? A lot of people killing each other. We'll see lots of that. This is very gory. I'm not too big into like violent stuff, but he makes it look really pretty. Look at that blood trail. It just looks cool. It's an appealing way to show something really gross that I really wouldn't want to see depicted too realistically. It's kind of cartoonish, which I think works in its favor. Otherwise, it could be difficult to read. Yeah, look at all this blood. It looks almost friendly. But yeah, this story has tons of murder, and look at this. This guy is ripping somebody's tooth out. It's very gruesome. It's very, very metal. Yeah, here she goes. Look at that. Just slowly cutting off this dude's hand. He had a part to play in her. He played the violin, but she got her hand ripped off. Not good. Really cool flying ship. But man, this world's so violent. Everybody's violent. Look at the queen. She's got half her face ripped off. This guy's missing his hands, but he's still going. This girl doesn't have a face. He's got all this like tribal stuff going on. This is like the village. Actually, she's not specific to the village. She actually goes around to all the different tribes and, gives them their name. It's like very Native American. This is interesting, I think, about the story. It's a very serious story. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's humorous, but it's very sober, but also has a lot of just like cool stuff, like unapologetic representation of things that are cool. It's like post-apocalyptic fantasy, but you also have like a robot man, why? Probably just because it's cool. Like, it plays into the story of kind of like this old technology and the apocalypse and all that. But more than that, I think it's just like a cool thing that was added in. And you have that robot man mixed with like old European knights, and this guy actually looks really samurai, doesn't he? Just kind of all the things that are cool. Big monsters, man. Lots of killing. Lots of that cool blood. It's like candy or like putty or something. You always gotta like the way he conveys motion. Look at the little, I don't know what you call that, like the motion blur and the action. It always makes it seem like really fast and action-packed. It's always really cool. Of course, he's really good at that. Look at this guy. What have I done? There's a lot of that in this. I mean, the story's kind of a downer. I mean, it's really cool, but yeah, it's not very optimistic. It's just a lot of endless killing, but also very critical of the killing. Like, it shows people doing terrible things, but it doesn't glorify it. It's just like everything's just really awful. Yeah, everybody's got something bad going on. I mean, this guy's mad. He lost his wife and he screwed over his daughter, and then, the enemy that did it, she's missing her face and has scars, and it's like everybody's screwed up. Like, nobody's intact. Everybody just keeps going at it. Just like cool fighting, just brutal WrestleMania kind of stuff almost. Like, it's very anime, all the action and stuff. It's just really cool. This guy just seems big. He reminds me a lot of, I think, what is his name? Kyle Blackthorne from the old Blackthorne game. I don't know, like just like heavy metal archetype, just like this big beef dude with black hair. This guy, when he's in his full getup, which he's not right now, he looks like a Blizzard character. Like, you could just stick him in Heroes of the Storm. He'd fit right in. This is an interesting page. Like an old cutaway. That's cool. And you have whole books like this for pirate ships and stuff. He did it for a building. I like that. I kind of forgot this was in there. That's a pretty cool idea. That'd be fun to see more of this in comic books, like a diagram of locations that you see a lot or that are just interesting. This is basically their castle. The bad guys just picked up and took away. look how dark and crazy this is. Like, this is the past, and up here's the present. Like, the daddy's helping her draw. Like, oh, isn't this nice? And he's doing the same thing here, but he's teaching her how to, torture somebody. And he kind of feels the same way. He's like happy about it. Like, in the present, like when she does these awful things, like he's encouraging her. But like, the guy's kids start to question his commitment to vengeance and violence. And so does the people around. But it doesn't seem to stop anything. This is basically a cautionary tale for vengeance and violence. It gets really dark. I mean, some of the characters do things that are just... like totally awful. I'll skip this next page, but... it doesn't make you hate the characters, Like, it just makes you, like, they're resolute, Like, in a story, if it's in the character for somebody to do something very terrible, sometimes they don't actually let the character do that. Probably because they don't want to upset the audience or make you dislike the person. But in this, if somebody's going to do something awful, they just do it. And it doesn't really make you dislike the character more. Like, it makes you dislike what they're doing and the situation that they're in. But I think he does a good job of establishing believability of everybody's behavior. Like this guy, this is a really cool character. Like the dad, but he's doing terribly horrible, awful things, but you're convinced that he believes what he's doing is the right thing. He doesn't really break character in an unrealistic way, I think. But he's completely obsessed, that's kind of the point of the story, right? Is to show how this obsession doesn't really get you anywhere. But I mean, this Extremity really takes it through to the end, you know? It's not like a happy, go lucky, oh, vengeance is bad and everybody learns it by the end of the story. It's kind of like nobody ever learns anything all the way till the end, and they all just suffer from it. So it doesn't really give you not a lot of like redemption, basically. It's just showing like an awful thing, destroying everybody around themselves. But yeah, here's where it gets really cool. Actually, the whole thing is cool, but I kind of like this part. She's really starting to question, like, what the heck am I doing? Apparently he is too. That's the thing. It shows them reflecting and questioning themselves, but they're still committed, and they're kind of in too deep to pull out. So yeah, this is an example of how the story plays out. She's having doubts. He's having doubts. They're thinking about the past. The bad guys show up. Uh-oh, what's going to happen next? And it's like kaboom, the giant grasshopper. He just like burst out. That's what I think about this story. It's like it's so serious, and it's so bleak and violent, but you have cool stuff like a man with a shovel riding a grasshopper. I guess this is a shovel. That's a really cool weapon. Again, like you could put this character in Heroes of the Storm with the grasshopper mount and the shovel. He's just like a big, thick dude. Yeah, big grasshopper bottle. Look at that. He just lops off all the heads in one stroke. You gotta love her hover bike thingamajig. I don't know what you call this, but it's super cool. And like I appreciate as an artist that it's like a big cubic shape, it's like a cubic shape with a seat cut into it. That makes it very convenient to draw and to figure out. Yeah, and it just looks cool. Yeah, and this is a world where life is very cheap. I mean, it's like, don't worry, I'm just going to get murdered and have my guts spill out of my stomach, but it's worth it. People don't really think twice. To be continued. I wonder why it's printed in 2 volumes. Makes it a little difficult to collect. So yeah, it ends when the kids get away. Yeah, let's look at the second part. So this is one that I read recently. The last part I was talking about, I was just looking at it. I kind of forgot a lot of the story. So let's see. Let's refresh my brain here. Same people working on this. Picked up right where it left off. It's kind of a bummer to see this thing die. I liked this, I don't know what, hover bike or whatever. I thought that was cool. He probably has a name on it he probably has a name for this in the story, but I don't remember. Gotta love the sound effects. Yeah, there's like a lot of world building and stuff behind the scenes. You get like I don't know, cyborg dog things. Because they're in some place where you have like old technology like creeping up to the surface, and they gotta watch out. Again, just have a giant beast dog thing, rip into my arm, no big deal. And you get another cool character. Just stuff like this, just like really cool, like big beefy people with crazy guns, or weapons of any kind. You have all these rituals and flashbacks that they have. It almost makes you want it to be a little bit longer, just to see like more of the world building and stuff. So the kids end up in this like kind of like a hippie commune of violent warriors. You kind of escape all the tribal nonsense, try to make a better path. He's got all this cool world building, and I wonder how much time he spent on world building, because there's a lot of culture in this, which I think is significant because he made a lot of stuff up. You can't just, it's not real world and real locations and real cultural things. Like everything's made up. He's got all these names that honestly I kind of forgot, like what they call like their leaders and stuff. Definitely immersing you in a different world. This is actually my favorite panel in the whole thing. The whole story is this blue guy in the yellow background with the red blood. It goes slug. It almost like it says slug right here too. I don't know. It's even though it's a gruesome thing, it's drawn really pretty. I like the mouth. I like the effect. The color palette is really cool. But I like how that sticks out. I like how it's like all purple and blue, and then you have this one surprise moment. He's cool with it though. Look, I mean, just get your throat chopped. No big deal. He's cool with it until he dies. Like these cast of like crazy metal characters, like I don't know. It is very Mad Max. You have all these unique character designs with people trying to express themselves in different ways. And here we are. We're all peaceful people, or trying to carve a new path and all that, and they have like a stable of flying monsters. This guy's really cool. And they have all these tribes on this. They have all these tribes in this, but they focus on two. But you have different tattoos for people from, other tribes. So that there's like a hint of more world than what's really shown. I think that's pretty cool. It's almost like nonchalant or like whatever. Like the idea of like somebody jumping on a flying creature is like no big deal. It just happens. Which I think just makes for a very interesting story. Again, it's like super violent, super serious. But if whenever there needs to be a flying creature, there's no hesitation. It just pops up. Let's see what we got here. And then, fighting a huge bug. And I like how you do it. You have these like slow scenes. Like, what is this place? What's going on here? Oh, I found what we needed. Everything's cool, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh no! Blah. I mean, it's cool. I mean, that's where the value in this, I think, is just like the fun and the adventure. Mount your flying monsters, everybody. Get out of here. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about like this scene here. It's almost easy to overlook this because it's on paper and it's flat. But that's not easy to do. Like I'm thinking, coming from video games, I guess it'd be the same for movies or animation. It's like you'd have to make this thing. You'd have to concept it out pretty detailed, and somebody would have to make it. And here, you only need to figure out what it looks like for the sake of the shots that it's in, and you can also just have a lot of wiggle room. You don't have to be so locked down on the design. You can change it. You can change it per panel if you really need to. But yeah, just the resources it would take to do this in a different medium would be like pretty immense. But in a comic book, you can do it pretty easy, man. which I think is the power of comic books. What I'm starting to realize, like you can just cover more ground and do more cool things in like a much cheaper way. Like one person can do it by themselves. It's a flying alligator beetle. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy. Why not just rip a hole through somebody and come out? There's just like a lot of epic stuff in here. This is like, I don't know. It's like Magic the Gathering or something, like warrior woman on a 3-headed dragon. What I like and appreciate about this panel is that the dragon that lost its head it's convenient that its head is gone because it would cover the rider in this shot. So for the sake of a cool shot, this thing had to lose its head. You will come with me now. I mean, it's just like, how more authoritative can you get than writing a 2-headed, 3-headed dragon monster looking down at your foe? That's just like the cool epic moments are all over this thing. All right, stuff happens. They take a moment to really reflect on how awful everything is, how bad everybody feels. So it does, and that's what I appreciate, is that this is a huge violent fest, bloodbath, but nobody's happy about it, you know, like nobody's enjoying it. And I think that's okay. Like, I don't really like violence if it's glorified, but this is definitely not glorified. I mean, giant monsters are cool, but you know, these people are like crying and hurt and having a bad time. You know, so I can appreciate the way it was handled. Here we go, space battle. Well, it's not space. There's flying airships. It's cool. Like, you know, that's what you're doing. You're turning the page by page and it's like action, crazy fight fest. This dude, I mean, look at, I would like to see what this looks like in black and white. You know, they're coming out with an artist edition of this. I'm kind of curious what this would look like without the colors kind of separating things. Definitely some cameos and references in here, you know, preserving all the good things of the past. I always think things like this are cool because it shows what the artist values. This is like, you know, all the things from the past they thought was good and worth keeping. And, you know, it's like in your face art supplies. Of course, an artist would be very biased to think that these are important things to carry on. And I don't think, you know, people would disagree. But it's interesting. Lots of bucks. Again, yeah, I know that's, what do you call it, the death dealer from Frank Frazetta. But I'm curious what these other things are. If like, I know that's just a few lines. You can't really tell what that is. But I wonder if it is something, like if that's a composition of something that he actually likes. Same thing with this. I wonder, is that just scribble or is it a reference to something that he thinks is cool, like a cool image? Let's see what we got. And of course, again, yeah, this is how the story works. Art supplies. Oh, look at these books and the knowledge and the stuff to carry on. And then all of a sudden, oh, a giant warrior just hanging out, you know, a giant mech. This is how this the story plays out, which I think is cool. That's what makes it cool. This is a cool shot. Spiral staircase. Not easy to draw. There's a lot of cool stuff on this spread, really. Cool battle shot. The colors, the guy doing the colors is doing good work. Blue and the yellow look good. This is just a cool shot here. Yeah, this is well drawn. There's like a sense of like speed and it almost looks like there's like a lens effect going on. I think it's all the action lines. Giant crazy monsters. I never understood this page though. I don't remember what this thing was. I think that was her brother's little helper or something. I don't remember. Yeah, he said, come find me. I kind of like, yeah. Here's our weapons. And here you go, here's yours. Now she's ready to go. I'm ready. Like, everybody's so violent, you know, they don't really have to train. They already know how to use every type of killing machine there is. This guy is cool, man. I'll show us more of this guy. He's just a cool dude. Like a Viking future man. It's a cool horn. Yeah, I mean, look how fantasy this is. I got my sword and my now two-headed dragon. Just taking off, no big deal. I like it. Like this could be an oil painting. You know what I mean? You could blow this up and make some cool fantasy thing with this. Giant monster attacking a city. I mean, gotta have it, right? That's a gun, it's back. Giant monster attacking the city. You know, a crazy wild man with a, you know, like a bug mantis mount. Flying ships. Guns are going crazy. Oh, these little monsters. Monsters with jetpacks. Archers, like medieval archers, like all the crazy things. Yeah, here's a scene of just the craziness. That's what I think is cool. Just all the nonsense all the way. Like there's so many different ways to like crank it up, you know? Like to crank up the dial. And he's doing it with like just the introduction of like really cool stuff. Like it's not funny, there's no jokes, but it's almost hilarious that yeah, you have this crazy, this crazy war going on with like creatures that are coming off somebody's back and all the flying ships and all this crazy stuff. And then, oh, wait a minute, don't forget the giant mech warrior. He's just killing the slime alien machine things. Like, it's just like doing all the stuff. It's like a little kid playing with a bunch of toys. Giant mech warrior fighting giant bug. I mean, yeah, that's how I would describe this. Like the situation is kind of ridiculous, but the story is like super serious. I like that. I like the way that works off of each other. I don't think if it was a comedy, I don't know if it would really be, it would definitely have a different feeling if this was a comedy. This is very sober. Kids changing their mind. Yeah, this is like, in this story, you think that the characters are gonna like change their mind about anything, but they don't. Oh, here we go. Look at this. When I was reading this, I'm talking about everything just gets crazy and spirals into madness. This dude takes this really cool sword. That's why I like this character, man. I would like to see more. He takes the dial. He literally dials it up to 10. That's what's happening in the story too. It's just, let's dial it up to 10. And it's not even just like a little sword. It's like this crazy electric, who knows what, Oh, dialed up to 10, and look at the size comparison. Like, he doesn't care. He's still going for it. Like it's just such a cool attitude, like for a story, because I mean, that's what fantasy is about, right? People doing crazy stuff you wouldn't do in real life. This just takes it all the way. It dials it up to 10. A giant kaboom. Oh. Getting your head ripped off by a mantis. It's crazy this guy never dies. Everybody else is dead. Look at that. Mantis down, but he's not. He just goes right into him. This guy's just like relentless till the very end. Yeah, and this is where they finally confront, and spoiler alert and all that, but you think they're gonna change their minds in this. So many people die, and nobody changes their mind. They just all die. I mean, look at some of I wrote some notes about what I thought about the story. It's super epic. Oh, he's the Abba. That's what they call him, right? The Abba guy. Yeah, that guy's awesome. Even though he's awful, he's an awful person, but he's really cool. But I mean, you understand where he's coming from. I mean, he's deeply hurt and wants vengeance, like anybody would. He just takes it too far, like anybody would in his position, right? Yeah, I said it's very sober, very over the top. The story is about starting like a new world. Like that's a typical story, right? Like everything's bad. Let's start over and do something good. But this one isn't like a Sunshine Rainbow is like, oh, you had a really great idea. Let's do that idea because that's a good thing for everybody. Instead, like nobody in this story really changes. They just all die. They all just kill each other. And I guess you're just hoping that after the story's over that they'll finally like learn. But I guess they won't. I don't know. Yeah, I wrote down, the story is about forgiveness, but nobody forgives. They just all die. Which is real. That's how it happens. Like sometimes, when two factions have grudges, they just have to murder each other until they're all gone, I guess. But it's not an idealistic outlook represented in this. A little bit more grounded in realism. Peaceful moment here, flying away from massive destruction on the flying creatures. Yeah, it's interesting. Nobody really gets converted. Nobody changes. Very sober story. I guess this is the glimmer of hope. Is that somebody smashed a sword. Who's now in charge, but given this world, maybe nothing happens. I don't know if you guys read Nausicaa, but that's kind of how, that story plays out. This made me think of Nausicaa in the sense of just people with hatred towards each other, just like wiping each other off the planet, and nobody ever learns. Like, even after you save the day, they're cool for like 5 minutes, and then they still keep killing each other again. That's the vibe that I get in this story. So definitely not a feel-good story. Although it was very cool to read, and I recommend reading it just for fun. But it's just like a fun ride. And not only that, one guy did this. I mean, he had help with the color and the letters, but one guy wrote the story and did all the art. Oh, look, does that go together? Kind of, not quite. It does a little bit. But that's really cool that one guy did all this. And it makes me wonder, what was he thinking? What was going on in his life that he wrote a story where nobody really gets redeemed, they all just die? I'd like to know. I mean, I guess we get a little hint. I'll read it. I'm going to do Murder Falcon at some point. There it is, Murder Falcon. Same guy, same team, but yeah, here he has in here. Here he says, I was going through a storm when I was drawing Extremity. There was a lot of pain, and many long nights. It made me want to give up, to stop trying. It was hard to be brave, to hold my head up and still enjoy what life had to offer. That's what he wrote in his next story, Murder Falcon. And this is a totally different kind of story. It does have all the same cool, no apology, let's just add really cool things in it. But, it's a lot more fun than this. And but yeah, it really makes you wonder, what was he going through? I would like to know. As an artist, I would imagine he was probably having a hard time just getting by. That's how a lot of people think, though, right? They have a hard time with their lives, and it could seem like nothing ever gets better, and everybody's just gonna keep doing what they do until they die. Maybe that's what he was thinking. And then maybe he thought something different after he did this. I don't know. I feel like, comfort can really change you. Like when you're struggling to make any money, especially if you have a family, because I know he has a family, Daniel Warren Johnson. I wonder if he was having a hard time financially or something when he wrote this, and it just negative feelings came out. And then maybe, this, from what I understand, was a success. So maybe then his life got a little better because of it, and then he was in a more happy place. I don't know. I would like to, maybe I should just ask, right? I'd be curious what was going on, because, and that's how I feel, when times get tough and you got a family to provide for and it's hard to find any money, you just think you think a lot of negative stuff, and you end up making a story not unlike what we have here in Extremity, which I don't want to poo-poo on this. I think it's a great story, but it's also like, I don't know how other people feel, but, me being an artist and especially learning more about story and trying to make my own, I think more and more about, like, what is the artist saying when they make this? Because when everybody writes a story, it comes from somewhere, right? There's a reason that they're doing it. There's a point of view, there's a worldview, there's an outlook that's being expressed. Even if they're trying not to show that, it's always there. I think that gets a little bit hidden nowadays because we have so many like repeat franchises and all that. But when you get something like Extremity, where it's like an original story from, one person doing it, I feel like you get more of a glimmer into what's going on into that one person's life and their head than you would with like a big committee made movie or video game, really. But I mean, this is the beauty of comics, right? One person can do everything. One person can sit here at a table and draw flying monsters and crazy violence and a whole sci-fi world of flying things. And it's, it's just marks on a paper, really. You don't have to have a team to do it. You can do it all by yourself. It's not easy. It's super hard. And I'm imagining that's what he was going through making this. But once you do it, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't just read this. I actually just finished Nausicaa last night that Miyazaki made. And so my head's in a totally different place of thinking of like, man, when I read stuff like this, I think like, man, what were they really thinking? And it just occurred to me, like, this is such a great way to get to know people, without actually knowing them. Like, if you sit and invest the time into reading somebody's original story, it's almost like having a conversation with them, right? And if you look, if you're observant, you can kind of see what they were getting at. You can kind of look under the surface and maybe see how they really felt about something or what they're trying to say. And maybe they didn't know how they felt. Maybe they're trying to figure it out, and then the story was the way to do it. Because the reason I bring up Nausicaa, because I read it and I thought it was awesome, and then I went back and I read Starting Point to try to help me understand what I just read, because I felt like Miyazaki was going through like a big change in his life as he wrote it. Because I mean, it took a long time for him to make it, and sure enough, yeah, he was. I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you read the interview with Miyazaki, he made some changes in the way he thinks about the world, and it definitely reflects in Nausicaa. And so reading a story where you see somebody struggling to understand something and grapple with it, and then reading an interview about them talking about that very thing, it makes you see it in other things. So bringing that back to Extremity, I wonder what was going on in this man's life when he wrote this crazy bloodfest. If you want to peek into that, here we go. But other than that, man, it is cool. The art is cool. You can see, and it's done on paper and pen. I think that also makes it more real. Like, more real and more romantic. That one man just sits here and does it with the pen and the paper. And it's a real thing that exists in the real world. And whatever, I'm rambling. I'm just struggling to get there. Okay, I'm rambling. Well, hope you enjoyed that. All right, thanks for watching. And if you want to read this, good luck finding it. It was hard for me to find it. I think Volume 2 is sold out everywhere I looked in Europe, and Volume 1 was difficult to find. Maybe it's different in other places, but hopefully there's a reprint soon, so have fun with it. So good luck with that. And if you want to see the comic that I'm making, I have a link in the description for my webcomic Askril, and I'm releasing pages weekly. All right. Goodbye.